Welcome back. You're on a morning ritual for me. Um, the practice of divination and meditation and the contemplation of daily evolution and the poetic nature of it all. So thank you for being here. A lot of these long form, unscripted situations are probably a little bit challenging to be able to hear. So if you're really questioning the outcomes, just recognize that there is always a destination, but the journey is what counts the most. And you can speed this up should you feel the need to. Share it, comment, be a part of this intention. I'm Jason. I am the sustainability property designer. And much of what we do requires us to be of a balanced state of mind, body, and soul. We are balancing the world in relation to it. We are rebalancing the world, you might say. It's been too long since there's been a level of honesty in relation to how the world is subject to the human integration within it. And much of that, I believe, has a lot to do with the human integration within oneself. Today, beyond the design of divination, I've been divining with runes and tarot and medicine cards for decades. And I have recently, at the beginning, begun divining with sacred geometry. And in doing so, I have been incorporating more than just a single card or rune draw from a question, an intention, an ideal, into raising deeper questions in relation to it. As someone born on an astrological phenomenon with astrological placements that are quite phenomenal, I overlooked a lot of the importance and the information that can come from the understanding of it, because I felt as a Taoist, as someone that I follow my intuition, I follow my heart, I believe that my journey was about me following, not just thinking that I'd arrived somewhere, which ultimately could have something to do with why I have quite a few experiences that are very valuable to me. And then in reality, at the age of 50, well, now at 50, but in reality, probably about 45, I realized that there was more to me than I thought, in which case I thought I might look a little bit deeper and recognize that what I'd learnt from my experiences in the mistakes that I'd made, which actually weren't mistakes, they were just challenges, in which case I felt that they were mistaken. However, in understanding more of what we learn about ourselves, we don't learn much of ourselves when everything's going well. No smooth seas created an amazing Viking sailor. So my outcome in understanding was that my opportunity was to look deeper into what created me, ancestrally as well as astrologically, to then realize that I had actually lived my astrology and become my astrology with the planetary positions in their zodiac signs and the houses, considering the rising sign aspect, as well as all the transits in relation to what might be relating between those planets in different houses, different zodiac signs. It blew me away to the point where I could not have followed that if I had have tried to have followed that. However, I might have understood certain moments to operate within them in a better, more evolutionary rather than experiential way. And recognizing so much more in studying astrology on a much, deeper level, to then taking that, further into understanding that my Viking heritage and my Celtic heritage and my off this planet blood type and my birth at the time that Stonehenge was built for and aligned for might have actually had a deeper purpose for me to become more than what I thought my life could have ever been. And the gratitude that that brings to one's experience is, grateful across all levels, especially the challenges in my life, where I look back and I recognize that my choice to choose the untrodden path of life, to be a pioneer, a way shower, was part of me creating the fact that ultimately, with Mars at 0 degrees in Aries, I have the most stamina and the greatest capacity for leadership, which ultimately is the Emperor card if we look at the tarot of astrology in relation to it. So with great power comes responsibility, great responsibility. And having great power over myself throughout all of the challenges of losing family, life burning down, winning cars. The extremes have been extreme, no doubt about it. Cusp Gemini and Cancer, the multi-personalities, the multifaceted nature of experience, and ultimately the truth, which is the key factor in being able to divine a life that is not only desirable, but very rewarding. And so I have been practicing after being a carer for 3 years full time and giving up my recording studio, all my festivals, all my sound equipment, my cash cow business, my Mercedes vehicles, everything. Just gave it all up to then be, in a sense, freed of that situation because of someone's selfishness. I now am in a perfect position over the recent months to focus on me, having given a shit about the rest of the world my entire life. Being the druid and the seer, forecasting with common sense and astrological understanding and historical patterns and an education that is broader than what would cost $100,000 a year in this day and age to send your children to, but also that of the world that I went to that school from, and then I go beyond to explore traveling the world for 7 years on a push bike, studying life, growing food, spirituality. And while that was back in the 90s and there was no intention for me finding fame through social media, but more finding myself, which I feel for people today trying to be influencers that haven't actually experienced things to become influential, haven't created fads, trends, haven't been at the foreground of it. They are simply taking other people's information and turning it into theirs for their audience, as opposed to the living of the lives that raises the questions that we would really get value from. And that is why I'm here. In this realm, not on radio after being on air for decades, talking the talk in relation to forecasting and awareness and ultimate understanding of the broader pictures and the houses and the zodiacs that combine into the convergence of self. So I've always asked the hard questions, which has often pushed people away because ultimately hard questions are not what people want. They actually create anxiety. Okay? The Nine of Swords, which is a card that I pulled from my current place in time on the subject that I don't think anyone would ever want to discuss in public. I wanted to wake up today and recognize that in my practice of magic, in my practice of shamanism, in my practice of druidry, in my practice of the more than me and the understanding of the energy of this world, life force, chi, the one, oneness, our animal instincts. As I cultivate that in the space and time that I've created for myself, I have come from a place where sexual activity as a creative being 5-6 times a day with my last partner. Not the one I was caring for, she was too sick. But yeah, 5-6 times a day. Now, I was not ejaculating in relation to that. Taoistic practices of semen retention. So one does not have to orgasm to gain sexual pleasure, just to know that. But what occurs in relation to our releasing? And what is it that we're actually releasing? And what is it then are we giving away of ourselves in the process of that? And so I woke up today hard as a rock, horny as fuck, okay? And that is not uncommon. I am a high-Jing Mars in 0 degrees Aries. I am the emperor. I am a creator of empires. I have creative force living within me, pouring out of my pores. Smell it in my armpits. And what do I do with all of that? Fuck. Okay, this is the question. So there's times when you just have to release. You're not going to have blue balls. You have to engage yourself. Are we doing it with our sacral cerebral fluid? Are we doing it in the times? Are we doing it in the times of our moons, around our birth cycles, annually, monthly, moonly? We all have cycles. There's a lot to explain, and I'm not going to go into it all today. But I'm going to talk about what I divined in myself in relation to what do I want to do with masturbation. And it took me 14 minutes and 45 seconds to get to that question. Where does it come from? Why do I want to do it? What are the best outcomes for me to practice in it, and what would be the outcome that I would be looking at achieving in relation to finding a level of control, finding a new relationship to it, finding an understanding beyond my own self-satisfaction, or whatever it is a moment's needs. So I have, through my life, felt that if there's a time when I wanted to smoke a joint but I wasn't smoking, I would get down and do 8 push-ups. 8 because it's the number 8. And if you don't know about the number 8, we can talk about that, leave a message, and we'll do a video on that. I would trade over, like when I had a studio and I would be tired, working through till 2 or 3 in the morning, and I'd be like, I need to go and light up to get more energy. I'd grab my skateboard and go bomb the streets. Get my energy out in another way. I would jump on the climbing wall in the garage and just like monkey around for, I don't know, as long as the song could play 2 or 3 times in the background, so I could hear it from a different perspective, so I could understand that I wasn't too focused on something and being myopic, that I was stepping away and being able to witness it from a distance, which is what we need to do in our lives more often than we actually choose to, as far as I'm concerned. So I woke up this morning going, fuck, hard as a rock, gonna have to meditate on that one. But I rubbed one out beforehand, and I'm like, yeah, that was a waste. That was such a waste. And so I like, right, you've been divining all kinds of shit. You've been doing readings for people that have just been bang on. What is it that you're going to divine about your own practice? So this is what I chose to do today. And it's from that we get this video. So I'm sorry that you are stuck now at 17 minutes and 17 seconds into it. But it could be entertaining if we want to understand a little bit more of ourselves. And if you would like to engage in an understanding, deeper understanding, by all means, I would be happy to facilitate what I've come to understand in the nature of astrology and the occult, which is what's hidden, not what is hoodoo. Don't be afraid of things. What is hidden is actually what you're meant to be seeing. We understand reverse psychology, and if we take a look at all the laws and rules, there are reasons why we are not meant to apply them to our lives, just so we know. That being said, if I was to explain to you today, my first card is like, why do I do it? And I pulled up the 9 of Swords, anxiety, okay? The anxiety, terror, negativity, deep unhappiness, stress, burden, overwhelmed, at breaking point, inability to cope or face life, mental anguish, guilt, regret, remorse. Now, they are all facets of why people would masturbate. How often they do it is going to be subject to how much of that they feel. And there's an energy there, such a huge amount of energy when we're taking a look at the stress, the negativity, the terror. How much energy is wrapped up in this? At breaking point, inability to cope. Remorse, regret, guilt. It's very Mars energy. It's very Gemini energy. And it's very solar plexus. Okay? It's very, very solar plexus. The idea behind all of that comes down to we all experience it. Are we willing to accept it and own it? Do we understand why we are actually living in a life that is designed that around us so that we are giving away our energy on a daily basis? Whether it's through these emotions and experiences, whether it's through combating them in relation to substance abuse or sexuality abuse. Have we lowered our vibration? Have we given away our essence? No doubt. So I understand all of this, and I simply wanted to get some feedback, because at this moment what I am doing is I'm practicing the divination. I'm practicing working with oracles to be able to finely tune what I know about myself and my abilities in this, to be able to be of greatest service to you, to the people, as I've always been in everything I've ever done. The solution to this is the second card. Okay? What is the solution to this? Well, we've got the Nine of Wands, resilience, the ongoing battle, the fatigue, drained of energy, nearly there, close to success. We need courage, persistence, perseverance, backbone, learning from past failure, gathering your strength. That's the solution. The Nine of Wands. So we've gone from anxiety, the Nine of Swords, to resilience, the Nine of Wands. Again, solar plexus. It is Sagittarius energy, it is direction, and it is moon energy, trust and intuition. So I can accept that. I can see that, understand that, and be grateful in relation to being able to recognize the deeper sides of me, asking the harder questions to be able to get the right answers. And when we look at divination, it is very much about what is the question you're asking. It's like with affirmations and manifestations. If we want to provide them into our lives, short, succinct, clear. That's the key. The outcome, okay, is always usually going to be the third card of a 3-card spread. And what is it? The Magician. The first card, which is actually not the 0 card, that's the Fool card. Don't be misled by the name of the Fool card, because the Fool actually knows everything. He's gone around the entire cycle of the zodiac. He's gone around the entire cycle of the tarot. He's experienced it all, and he knows that following the Tao, being the Fool, and living your life more carefree is actually the answer. However, that wasn't the card for today. The card is the Magician card, which is ultimately the occult. Okay, so in practicing magic, in practicing the magic that we have in nature, practicing the magic that we have in ourselves, the intuition, creating the coincidences that have often been overlooked in relation to what is magic ourselves. We're not talking about what we are, spells and the creation of manifestation. We're doing it in a positive way. White magic, perhaps. Not black magic, not putting spells on people, but putting protection over yourself. So that if someone, which is another facet that I do every morning, as a practicing druid, I put a protection spell in the manifestation that I want to create, helping me create it and protecting me from anything that wants to impact that. So be careful in integrating a resistance to what I might have to offer, or a rejection, or a negativity towards it, because that shit's just going to go straight back to you. And unfortunately, that can't get turned off. Okay, it's been practiced too long. I do it every morning, but it's there whether or not I do it every morning. So be careful of that. But what is the outcome? Is the empowerment of self to become the magician of oneself, to become a deeper understanding of our consciousness, not the cognitive bias or the dissonance. Okay. So the magician, the creativity, the action, the power, the manifestation, the skill, the magic, the work, the self-employment, the communication, the clear and absorbable communication, having the gift of the gap. Holy shit. Sorry about that. The willpower, the power to direct the will, creative visualization, and manifesting your dreams. Well, that was the outcome that I'm after. And I do know that by holding in my jing, holding in my sacred serum, holding in my life force, my chi, my animal instinct, my essence, for the purposes that I choose. So do the 8 push-ups. Handstand for 8 seconds. Explore your higher self in relation to a meditation for 8 minutes. There are ways in changing that energy. You feel it in the root chakra. Okay? Connect that to your heart chakra. Clear the third eye and let it explode out your crown. I have been pulling the bear, okay, now 7 cards in a row, which is the deepest wisdom which comes from a hibernation in an understanding of recognizing one's experiences, contemplating on them, learning from them in the hibernation, and being born in spring renewed. Like 7 times in a row out of 65 cards. I fucking kid you not. I pulled it again this morning, and I knew that that was going to be the case. I had to pull a second card. I got number 2, the Hawk. If you've pulled the Hawk card, then right now a clue about the magic of life is being brought to you. For fuck's sake. The magic can imbue you with the power to overcome the current stressful or difficult situation. You can't make this shit up, okay? Divination. When you are true to yourself, it goes on and on. The capacity to see further ahead than what you need, but being patient from the highest tree, seeing the biggest perspective, is where Hawk comes from, just as a recap of the bigger picture. But that is ultimately where we are at in regards to divination in the truth of oneself. Ask the fucking hard questions. Recognize what it is that is the most that we don't want to know about ourselves and start looking there. Like I said before, no fine pirate was ever created on the calm seas of the Mediterranean, although they would always go there to celebrate their wares through the rum and the island culture that they love so much. There's a reason for that. Look at the hard first. Get what you don't want to do out of the way before you do anything that you do want to do. For you will never understand that don't want to do is actually an anchor in your boat that is trying to go off out to sea to be what you want to be. But it is holding us back constantly. The worst first. The hard way is the way. It's been almost half an hour. I hope you've had this on double speed. But I hope you've gained something in relation to it. If you'd like to leave a comment about like how out of my bloody head I am, or how much intuition you might be interested in trying to find in your life, please do so. If you want to share this with people that want to find out where their energies are, please do so. It's all about understanding ourselves, being honest with ourselves about what we want to become. And we want to become the best version of ourselves. We want that for our future. We want that for the future generations. We want that for the future generations. Troubled times ahead. And we're going to need to be in the best state that we possibly can be to achieve those dreams of ours. This is where it starts. Thanks for joining. Leave comments, like and subscribe, all that stuff, but probably don't. But come back and check in from time to time, because there is a level of truth that is physically experienced from this channel through a lifetime of being of the Tao, ahead of the times, by decades. Genres of music, consciousness, social awareness, and ethical, ecological existence. That's what you get here. Knowledge from experience and education on a global scale. Respect.